can give, great, we're recording. We can give everyone that might be a few minutes late a moment to get in. But this week has been so great, you guys. It was kind of weird starting the challenge on a Sunday. I don't know about you, but I also feel like it was perfect because being home on a Sunday after the holiday and stuff, being able to take that time to really like plan and do some meal prepping and set my goals and really think through things versus like starting on a Monday was really refreshing. So I loved that. I just feel like now my week's like feels a little funky. But it's been really amazing seeing all of your beautiful sweaty selfies, all of your check-ins, seeing all the goals that you guys have set for yourself for this challenge is really inspiring. And I think one of my favorite things always has been and will continue to always be reading your captions and your posts, especially on the days when you're not feeling it, but you see other girls in the community getting their workouts in or making a healthy meal or practicing some type of self-care, and it motivates you to do something for yourself. Maybe you still don't feel doing the workout, but it gives you some inspiration and motivation. That's really what this community is all about and what makes it so, so special. And I just feel so beyond grateful to be able to sit here with what is kind of the closest to see all of your beautiful faces, like in real life, like getting to actually see you move in real time. I know it sounds weird, but like, it's really cool. And I love having these moments. So today we're going to go through really like a lot that I've been working on over the last year. So if you guys have been around for a while, you know, like I talk about goals all the time, truly like have such a huge passion for setting goals and figuring out how to achieve those goals and being able to share that. So you guys probably have heard me talk about micro goals and macro goals. And if you were in the workshop last year, kind of dug into that a bit more, and truly like goals, like our planner is what brought all of you girls here and all of us together digging into this. So obviously we're going to cover goals, but I think also like, as we talk about goals and wanting to set them, I think sometimes when you step back, and I have done this for myself, I'm like, but like, why? Like, why is it important to set goals? Why not just go through life and like figure out things I want to do and kind of do them? Why does it matter to actually take the time to not only think about what goals we want, but then also start to develop like how we want to achieve them and what that looks like for our life? So I want to really get into that part of things today, because I think that's kind of like a missing piece that's really important. And I know we probably all have heard through the years that like a goal without a plan is just a dream. And it sounds so cliche, but it is really true. Like, it's really nice to say, this year I want to do X, but without taking the time to really dig into what that means to be able to get to that point in your year, you're going to end up spinning your wheels and get to the end of the year feeling discouraged because it didn't happen. So I want to give you kind of like the stuff that I personally have been digging deeper into. And I think you guys have seen this coming through probably all of my content more so over the last year, but it's really like that most crucial part that I feel like we've kind of missed out on, which is like, how do I actually accomplish my goals? Like, I've set them now, I figured it out, but like, how do I actually make that happen and stay consistent and create this routine for myself that allows me to reach those goals? So I'm obsessed with routines. For me, it is just like everything. And it's something that I think is kind of in my nature. And I didn't even realize until I started trying to break down like why I was able to accomplish so many goals and why I still am able to. And it really comes down to building those routines. So I talk about this a lot, but we're going to go like deeper into it as much as we can in the time that we have. And I want to give you guys a chance to ask some questions too. So I'm going to try to work through all of that with you. But I think like truly, when you think about in the past talking so much about macro goals and micro goals, they really are still those fundamental pieces. But those micro goals are truly just habits that we build into our routine so that we can accomplish our goal. So I'm gonna actually share, I built a new deck for you girls that we're gonna go through together as we talk through this. So I'm going to share my screen so you can all see that. I'm going to do it without my tech guy. I got this. Okay. Yes. All right. Okay. Oh, yay. I wasn't sure if I'd still be able to see you guys or if you'd still be able to see me, but I do. You can still see me, right? Perfect. Okay. All right. So we're going to dig into that here. So really just, I want to focus on building those routines to help you actually crush your goals. So obviously, if you guys have gotten your planner yet, I know some of you have ordered it and haven't received it yet. If you've had a chance to go into it, those first couple of pages in the beginning to me are kind of the most important because they start to help you develop and understand like what you actually want your goals for the year to be, what types of things you want to accomplish, obviously reflecting on the past and then looking forward. So these pages, like, I don't take them lightly. I've literally written in 4 different planners. So don't do that. Maybe like take the questions and think it through before you write them in here, because I was like, and then I like changed and got deeper into it. So take it seriously, take your time with it. And this part will be very, very helpful so that you can take everything that you learned today and that we talk about and really build it into your plans in your planner, building out your weeks, especially when you do those monthly macro and micro goals in there too. Okay. One thing I will say before we start into kind of why we need these routines is the fact that like, you might not realize it, but about, I'm making up the stat. I don't know that this is actually the stat, but just thinking about our life, I don't know that anyone knows the stat. But like 90%, I would say personally, like probably 90% of our day is a routine. Whether we like what we're doing or not, most of our day, things happen. Like we know we wake up, we should make coffee, we do this thing, we go there, we get ready for work, we drive to work, we get to our office, we sit at our desk, like all these things are part of our routine. So it's really about looking at that day and starting to evaluate where we can make shifts. And we'll get into that in a bit. But I think that like, when you realize our life is already a routine, it makes it a little bit easier to think about changing our routines and adding new things in. Okay. So I want to talk about the power of routines, really why we need them and how to actually create them. So with Love Sweat Fitness, when I started, I think all of you probably know my story by now. One, I never imagined this would be life, but really it started with, workouts, like wanting to share my workout, share my story. And as I've grown and developed, not only have my interests and my education and expertise grown and developed over the last decade, which sounds so crazy to say, but I really realized that like, it's gone into so many different areas, like not only from like fitness to nutrition and workout products and all of those things. But as I was like digging through all of that, I realized like my biggest passion truly is routines and talking about them, sharing them and helping others figure out how to build them. And the fitness and the nutrition and all of those parts are like those micro goals and habits that build our routine. So they're really the building blocks of it. But my what gets me excited every day is to be able to really like share how to create those routines. And I think why they're so important too is like, so often when you hear the word routine, you think about something being stuck in stone, right? So you're like, it's a routine. Oh, it's a habit. Like it's just this thing that is not going to be able to move. It is what it is. Like, here we go. And it's easy to feel that way and to let that kind of overwhelm you. But I think that there's so much power in routines because they actually, yes, they create structure for us, but they allow us to do more and to do more of the things that we love. And routines are really fluid and they can ebb and flow, especially if you're hyper aware of your routine and the steps that you're taking and those habits throughout the day. It really does create more space and time for what we want to be doing. It really allows us to be aware of that so that we can make those shifts as we see like, this is working for me, or this isn't working for me, or I want something else. And I think that's a really great part of it as well. The best part, well, there's a lot of good parts. The best part of building those routines though, is they really allow you to go on autopilot. So if you're like me and you spent time, years, any amount really, feeling like you're in a cycle of super committed, super motivated, working out for like a few weeks at a time, like doing really great, or a couple months, and then completely falling off the wagon and feeling discouraged and not feeling motivated to get started again. And then at some point you muster that back up and you get going, and then the same thing happens again. Like that was my whole life up until that shift and that turning point for me. But where conscious habits and routines really become so powerful is they just make all of those things that are now important to you a part of your life, so much so that like you literally don't have to think about them. The work to get there is going to be hard. It's going to take discipline and determination and days that like mentally kind of F you up a little bit because you're just so exhausted and there's so many other emotions pulling you in different ways. But when you can get past that hurdle and it really truly becomes part of your routine and a habit for you, it's completely autopilot. Just like when you wake up, you go to the bathroom, or you brush your teeth before you go to bed, or you make coffee every single morning, all of that just becomes part of who you are and really like a reflection of your identity. And I think that that is something that like we don't think about enough, but habits really are that reflection. And then the last thing is kind of with the autopilot, but they allow you to have so much more freedom. You can stop stressing about needing to lose weight or needing to work out or wanting to eat healthier, because it just becomes a part of who you are. And you're not thinking about it or overthinking about it, and you're not in that cycle anymore. And so when you can actually master those habits and that routine, it allows you to focus on the bigger, more important stuff that takes more mind time, whatever that might be for you. Maybe you're like literally trying to broaden your education or get a master's degree or start a new career or start a side business or build your family. Those things that are going to take more energy, it becomes hard to also then be like, oh, I'm stressing additionally about getting a workout in or eating healthier. So when you can actually build those things as part of your routine, it gives you so much freedom because you don't have to stress about it anymore. Oops. Okay. All right. So if you guys have done, I don't know how many of you have done the self-love workbook or how many of you have the self-love workbook, but part of what I talk about in that workbook is changing the narrative and flipping the script. And this is an extremely important part of being able to accomplish your goals and to be able to build routines. And we're going to talk about those things interchangeably. So when I talk about habits, I'm talking about those micro goals, and we'll get deeper into that. And when I'm talking about just building our routines, like it's really building that life so that we can accomplish our goals. So as we go through life, and I'm going to reference a lot to do with weight loss and fitness, obviously, because that is my story. And I think one that's probably very relevant to many of you. But just know, as we go through all of these things, this can truly apply to any part of your life. So just know that it's not granular and it's not only focused on the fitness and nutrition. It can truly apply to any type of habit or routine that you're trying to build. There's so many stories that we tell ourselves as we go through life, not only because of experiences we've had, things other people have said about us, ways people have made us feel, past failures that we've gone through. Like for me, that was something constantly, like I always, whether it was because people made me feel that way or I put it on myself, I always felt like the chubby friend, the one who wasn't as pretty as the other girls, the one who always was like a little awkward, who never was like the first friend that you called for stuff. Like I had all of these stories and feelings in my head that I created and I gave power to. So when it came to actually wanting to live a healthy lifestyle that wasn't a 4-week fad diet or some other crazy extreme measure, I didn't even know what that meant, because I felt like I'd failed every single diet and everything else I'd ever done and tried to do. And the only thing I knew was that cycle. Try really hard, push myself to crazy, unrealistic extremes, crash and burn really fast, do it again. And it just repeated and repeated. So in my head, like I just felt like a failure. And I just thought that was kind of going to be who I was and what I did. And those stories that we tell ourselves really impact how we approach life. So the thought of actually living a healthy, balanced life was ridiculous to me. There was no way I was ever going to be that girl. I had no concept of what that could mean for me. And I think for me, that left me super discouraged, and it was hard to actually do anything. And I'd get kind of frozen and stuck, and I wouldn't set any goals, and I wouldn't do any consistent workouts or eat healthy consistently, because I just figured I was going to fail anyway. So why even bother starting? So that's kind of where I went for a very, very long time. And I think one of my biggest mistakes with all of that too was just feeling like all of those negative thoughts in my head were actually true. And I need for all of you today, before we get even further into this and before we get further into the year, is to know the only truth that matters is what you believe about yourself. And if you're telling yourself those negative stories, they are going to be true to you. So you do need to flip the script. And whether that's positive affirmations, meditation, journaling, prayer, whatever you need to do, get your accountability buddies, hype each other up on the daily, whatever it is, you need to talk that love and build yourself up, because the person that you think you are is the person you are going to be, period. That's just how it is. So if you are catching yourself, and being aware and being able to catch yourself is extremely important as we go into trying to reach those goals. But if you're able to catch yourself in those moments and pay attention on the daily, then when you can flip that, even if it does not feel authentic, even if it feels forced at first, it doesn't matter. Fake it till you make it. That is what I did. That is what everyone I have ever talked to does in those moments, because it can be really hard at times, but it is the singular most important thing you can do if you want to be able to accomplish your goals. And if your goals include longevity, not I'm going to do this one thing for a week, then the whole narrative has to shift. And this is where it becomes really important. So today, I'd ask that you let go of the past, whether that's the negative self-talk in the past, those thoughts, those failures, the challenges that you've had, or even stuff where you're I know so many girls are oh, I wish I had my 20-year-old body. We don't. No one does, unless you're 20, then go girl. But we're not going back there, right? It is about now, and it is about the future and where we can go from this moment. So let it all go. And let's start to focus on who we want to be. So that's one of the questions in that first section of the planner, is asking to picture where you want to see yourself in a year. Who do you want to be, and what does that girl look like? And I know that sounds okay, but seriously, take a minute and be realistic and think about picturing yourself and what life, if you're yes, this is what me accomplishing the goals that I want for myself, the life that I want for myself, that is what it is going to look like in a year. What would that be? I want you to take a second and actually think about it. I'm going to be quiet for a second. And if you haven't done this yet, you can obviously keep going deeper in the planner, but take a minute here and think about who that girl is. All right. So that's who I want you to focus on as we go into the rest of this, and as you go into the rest of this year and into this planner. So now we're going to get into really talking about building those healthy routines. So where does it start? Our success, your success in accomplishing whatever your goal is for this month, for this year, for this week, for the next 10 years, whatever it is truly determined by your habits and your routines. All of those things are either going to lead to your success in accomplishing your goals, or they're going to derail you. So again, we have a lot of routines already, some great, some not so great, some that maybe just need some tweaking, some that might need to go. But I think my biggest mistake with this was when I first even thought about changing my routine or setting goals was I always went real big. Like, all right, like we want to lose 25 pounds, or I want to work out every single day, and that's like going to make sense for the rest of my life. Like at that moment, it didn't make any sense, but I would try to make these like life altering changes that completely were like a 180 shift from my current life because I wanted to change so badly, but I wasn't really realistic in what my life looked like at the moment and like taking those steps to actually set changes. So I would set those giant goals and feel like I failed because they truly were unrealistic and unattainable. And that's what I talk to you girls a lot about, is really trying to set realistic, attainable, measurable goals that make sense. If you can't picture something that you're trying to add into your routine right now as part of your routine in a year from now, don't do it. If it doesn't match what that girl would be doing, don't do it. Because if it's that extreme, or if it's that outside of the norm, or if it's not actually something that aligns with who you are at your core and your identity, it's not going to last, and it's not going to be worth putting your energy into that. So that doesn't mean you can't have a really great lofty goal, but you got to break it down and start a little bit smaller. And that's where I learned, and I talk about this all the time, like when I finally made my goal to be, I want to move my body every day for 10 minutes. That's where I started from, because in the past, everything was like, oh, so crazy. That's where I actually was able to build those habits. And I think if you signed up for LSF 30, and if you've been reading my emails that I sent when you guys signed up, something that was like so powerful that I heard years ago that still just stuck with me. I felt like it was so relevant, especially for this time of year, because this time of year, when we come out of the holidays, is usually when those massive, crazy goals start like rearing their ugly head again. And if you guys read the email, this might sound familiar. If you didn't, or even if you did, it's a great reminder. So think about water. Okay, as we're thinking about our goals, our habits, our routines. Water, you could have like 80-degree, lovely, warm, tropical beach vacation water. Are you picturing it? Okay, great. All right, now we're gonna like go down to the South Pole a bit. We start migrating. You go 80 degrees, 7 degrees, 60 degrees, 50 degrees, 40 degrees. It's getting colder, right? It's getting colder and colder and colder, but it's still water. You can take that 80-degree water all the way down to 33 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's just cold water. What is that, like 50 degrees difference, something like that, right? It's just cold water. But between 33 and 32 degrees, you turn it down one freaking tiny degree, and it completely alters the state of being. And now you have ice. Like, I don't know why that like hits me so hard every time I think about it, but it's mind blowing. Like, you don't, like, you can go from here to here. Let me make sure you see. And there's not much change. Like, it's a little bit, right? Like, but like, it's just changing, and it's building, and it's slowly getting there. But that 1 degree makes all the difference in the world. So for me, making sure that you all understand that 1%, 1 degree, one tiny little change, one tiny little habit that you add into your routine that might seem small, it might seem so basic and so easy, like moving your body for 10 minutes a day, or adding an apple every day into your diet, like one tiny thing. That is what builds and builds and builds and builds, and over time gets you to that point where that huge shift happens. It doesn't happen in a day. It's not going to happen in 2 weeks, but those healthy habits and routines that you can build in will bring you to that point where you see that huge shift, not only mentally, emotionally, but definitely physically, especially obviously if we're talking about health and fitness goals. But I think that so often we just want to see that instant result. We want to see that just that 1 degree change, you know, but it's that 1 degree going down, down, down. And then you finally have that huge moment, which is just so freaking cool. So lock it in your brain. 1 degree makes all the difference. It rhymes and it sounds so cheesy here, but 1 degree is key. I did not mean to rhyme that when I wrote it, but now as I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, but you know what? Maybe it'll help it stick in your head better. So we have that. That's good. So what the routines do for us and what those small little steps day after day after day do for us is really allow us to fall in love with the process and fall in love with the journey. So it actually becomes something you love, you enjoy, you want, you crave. It is not a chore. It is not a burden. It is not a punishment. It is part of your identity. It is who you are. So if that girl that you're wanting to be at the end of this year is a girl who moves her body every day and she makes healthy meals and she's happy and she goes out with her friends and has a good time and she has real balance in her life and she sleeps well and she's in great friendships and relationships and all of those things, it's going to take those small little habits each and every day and staying consistent along the way to actually make that happen. All right. So with every win, every time you do something that is going toward that goal, each time you move your body that day, every time you eat that extra healthy meal, all of those things are building your identity. So it starts with us and the stories that we tell ourselves, and then those habits and those actions that we bring to play every single day really start to define who we are. And I think that is something, again, we talked about a little bit earlier, that we miss. It's just kind of like, oh, I just do this thing. And we kind of go through routines, and it's the good and the bad of the habits putting us on autopilot. Sometimes we forget why we're doing them or what we're doing. And when it's something that we don't want a part of our life, that can be a dangerous thing, right? So we need to evaluate those routines and pay attention. But when it's something that is pushing us toward our goals of who we want to be, that's a great place to be. And that's something we all want to strive to really be able to do that and bring it in all the time. So each time you have that habit, it really is an act of who you are. And every time you choose that good habit, it's an act of who you want to be. So again, just you eat the healthy meal, you are someone who takes care of their body and cares for how they nourish themselves. So all of those little wins also lead to more motivation because you feel good. When you say you want to do something and you actually do it, that's where that motivation comes from. Motivation is really important, and the discipline is really the foundation of that, because we have to be disciplined to show up on the days that we don't feel like it, that kind of stink, because we know that what we want that end result to be, we want it so badly in our soul that even on the days that it stinks a little bit, we can do it. And then we find motivation because we do it and we're like, yeah, I did that. I didn't want to. I woke up and was like, nah, but I did it anyway. And now I feel so proud of myself and so good that like, I feel inspired to do it again tomorrow. Okay, so we're gonna do a quick little breakout. I'm gonna keep this short because I know we're already at 6 o'clock. We're going definitely to like at least 15 more minutes, just FYI. Okay, so we're gonna do a quick breakout. I just want you, and we'll just do the morning, like between the hours of 8 and 10 even. Let's keep it very narrow. If you have paper, grab it, something to write down. I want you to write down everything you do every morning between, say, 8 to 10. Or just start a list. Like think about all the things that happen, good or bad, whatever it is. You're not gonna read them out loud, so like, get real here, write everything that happens during that time, all the stuff that is just part of your normal morning that happens every single day. Okay, and then As you do that, and again, you guys can, I do want you to do this like for your whole day at some point, but I want to at least kind of give you a guide so you can get started with this. So once you have everything you're doing during this time of your day, this part of your routine, I then want you to go in and circle anything that you're like, this isn't serving the girl that I want to be at the end of this year. And maybe there's nothing, and that's great. But if there's anything there that's not, you know, like, oh, so I scroll on TikTok for 30 minutes first thing in the morning, like maybe we can work on that. Guilty, but maybe we can work on like cutting that down a little bit, or shifting that to a time that might be more beneficial, like on the treadmill or something, right? So think about any of those, circle anything that's not serving you. And then just somewhere on there too, jot down things that you would like to be a part of this time of your day. So any little habits that you would like to have a part of this routine. Okay. So we're going to jump to the next part. Keep that keep that in mind, especially as we talk about this next section. But again, like tonight, tomorrow, this weekend, whenever, try to do that same practice, but like for your whole day. Just so you can really evaluate and see like what things maybe aren't serving you right now and where you can make those shifts. All right. So now we're going to talk about how do we take those micro goals, those habits, and really actually build them into our routine. So that's where I started, right? Saying like the part I felt like was missing before is like, great, we have these goals, we break them into micro goals, and those are more attainable and we can like do those. But like, how do we actually make it happen? And how do we make it stick in our routine? And when I mentioned routines being so important because they really help us fall in love with the process and with the journey, the reason for that is they let us enjoy every day instead of waiting for an end goal all the time. We're not just focused on like, oh, when I like lose 20 pounds, we're just learning to enjoy the process. And like, I mean, it's weird because at the time I did not know this was happening whatsoever. But looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what all of this was in my journey, adding to working out 10 minutes a day and moving my body 10 minutes a day and starting to make better choices and making more meals at home. And those little habits that I was building into my routine, I didn't realize I was losing all the weight I was. It truly was not until Ryan one time bought me something in a size small. And I was like, okay. And I was like, oh, wow, it actually fits me. Like I had noticed my clothes were fitting different or whatever, but like I had so many just like baggy dresses you wore belts with that like, I mean, that was like my wardrobe. So I never really like had to worry about it. I wasn't really wearing a ton of jeans all the time where I noticed it. So I think that is really the part where it's like, it just becomes part of your life and part of that process that you can stop worrying about like trying to, if I do this, then I get to this point and then I'll be happy or this will then happen. You just build a life that you like. That's really nice. Okay, so let's dig into how to actually add those into your routine. So the first thing I have on here, and I think is the most important thing to focus on, is actually adding stuff to your routine versus worrying about getting rid of the old habits. Old habits die hard. We've talked about it, everyone knows it, but it's easier when you suffocate them with good ones. And that might sound dark, but it's true. So like, it's one thing to say like, okay, I don't want to be eating like French fries with all of my dinners anymore, right? But it's really hard if you are used to doing that every single night or every week or whatever to just be like, okay, I'm not doing it anymore. Or if you're used to having dessert every single night, it's really hard to be like, I'm going cold turkey, no more dessert ever again. It's become ingrained in you. Remember, those things are autopilot. It's not even that you like necessarily enjoy it so much. It's just ingrained in your brain that that is what you do. And so you do it. So what we're going to do to start is focus on what we want to add in. So if you make yourself dinner, add more vegetables, right? Starting to figure out how you can add that stuff in. I think the biggest and most important part of this though, is really understanding like your why behind whatever the habit is. So if you want to make it a part of your routine, like why do you want to make eating more vegetables at dinner time a part of your routine? Or why do you want to make moving your body a part of your routine? Why is that important to you? Not about trying to be a certain size or lose a certain amount of weight, but maybe more generally because I want to feel better. I want to be healthier. I want to live longer. I want to be in less pain. I want to be on less medication. I want any of these things. That is why it's important to me. And you have to know what that why is to have the discipline to make sure you're building it into your routine each day. And also, I like to think about like how I will feel when I do something. So I'm really specific about that. Like, I know if I add more vegetables into my day, like I will feel better. If I go and move my body for 10 minutes a day, I will feel better physically. I'll have more mental clarity, and knowing that gets me excited and makes me feel more motivated and more disciplined to actually add that into my day. And then I think something else that's really important is to be specific in how and when you are going to have that new habit be a part of your routine. So like I said, if it is adding vegetables to your plate, then every night when I serve myself dinner, I'll put veggies on my plate first. Or every time I make my coffee, I will read a 5-minute book for 5 minutes, something like that. Whatever the habit is that you're trying to add into your routine, trying to make sure that you out loud say specifically what it is, when you're going to do it, and where you're going to do it. So like what, when, and where. And that has to happen for every single habit. With that, I kind of mentioned like with the coffee and with the dinner, and I'll repeat those because I think it's really important. Whatever that habit is, one of the best ways you can ensure that it actually becomes a part of your routine is to build it on parts of your routine that are already established. So when I had you write out that list of things that you already do every single day and things that you want to have part of that routine, the best thing you can do is take one and attach it to part that's already established. So for example, with the like eating more veggies, when I make myself lunch every day, I will add more veggies to my lunch bowl or whatever it is. When I make my coffee in the morning, I will always stretch before I drink it. So this new habit, stretching before or stretching every morning, I've now attached to my coffee. So I will make my coffee, like when I make my coffee in the morning, I will stretch before I drink it. And if you can attach this new habit to something that is already established, you are so much more likely to already do it because those things again are autopilot. So that autopilot kicks in here and now you've said it out loud, and saying it out loud honestly really helps too. It's just like if you want to remember to like grab something before you leave for work. I always do this with Ryan constantly. Remind me that I'm just saying it out loud so I don't forget. Like it's a true thing. When you say it out loud, when you physically write things down, it sticks and it becomes easier to actually do. So say it out loud, whatever it is, start small and attach it to an established routine. So really, again, focus on adding in new habits first. When you add those in, there's going to be less time and less room for the bad habits. There's only 24 hours in a day. So as you start adding more stuff in, there's less time, less room. The plate thing is a great example. If you want to stop eating so many fries, right, with your dinner, well, maybe stop. Don't worry about like not ever eating a fry again, because like I love fries, but maybe it's, I'm going to add veggies to my plate first. Well, then there's probably going to be a little bit less room, or you're going to eat your vegetables first. That's a great one. I'll always eat my vegetables first. And then if you're still hungry, great, have whatever. But I think those types of things can be really helpful to building those habits into your routine without feeling like you're just like shifting and rocking your whole world. And it can make a huge difference. So focus on adding, find your why, make sure you understand why it's important to you to have this new habit be a part of your life. Make it visible. So say out loud exactly what it is, where it is, make it easy for yourself too, by the way, and this is probably kind of skipped over, make it visible, but if you want to go walking in the first thing, like if you want to walk first thing in the morning, put your sneakers by your bed, put your outfit by your bed. If you want to start reading in the morning, put your book by your coffee. Have stuff. I talked about this in the video on how I use my planner. I leave my planner on my desk open so I can see it when I sit down, and I have everything right there. And that to me is really important, because if it's tucked away with my other books, I'm not going to open it. Like, I'll forget about it. And that's how I end up not using planners in the past, right? So I leave it open. I come and sit at my desk with my coffee. It's there. I see it, and it's a part of my routine. So making it super visible, and then building those habits and attaching them to habits that are already established. Good or bad, doesn't matter, whatever they are, attach the new good ones to something that's already a part of your routine. All right. Okay, we're gonna ditch the duds. So now we talked about how to add all the new ones in and make all the good healthy habits really become a part of that routine. And that last slide, like, that's really just the key there of how to actually implement it and make it happen. And then ditching any of the stuff that you don't want. Like I said, one, it's going to naturally start to go away because you're not going to have space mentally, emotionally, or literally physically in your day to do it all. So what's important to you? What matches that girl, the one you want to be? And by the way, this is not comparing to some other girl that you see. It's not comparing to me. It's not comparing to anyone else and what they do. It is, what do you want yourself, your life, where you're at, to look like in a year? And when you start adding all those things in, there's going to be less room naturally, of course. But you also need to understand why you don't want the bad habits. We're just going to call them bad because what else, right? Just the things that aren't serving you anymore. You do need to understand why they aren't serving you and why you don't want them. Because if it's just like, oh, I know I shouldn't do that, it's not enough. Like, why should you not be doing that? How does it make you feel? Again, so the same thing we did with our good habits, thinking about that with anything that's not serving us is going to help make it more impactful and give you more passion and drive and motivation to actually start to get those out of your routine. So then when those moments come up, when that thing that you recognize being a habit or a tendency or part of your routine that you don't really like, it comes up, you can recognize it and out loud, if you feel comfortable or you're by yourself or in your head, tell yourself why you do not like doing that. So for example, I just wrote a couple out for you guys, like if you're feeling kind of unmotivated or like having a day, this is what I do for myself, at least, tell myself like, I don't want to skip this workout because I'll feel disappointed with myself if I do. Or I don't want to have that third glass of wine because I won't sleep well. I'll have a headache. I'll miss my workout, and that's not who I want to be. So like truly actually having a conversation with yourself saying why you don't want to do that thing. So we know why we don't want to do it, but we're human and things come up all the time. And so being able to in the moment say like, nope, I don't want to do this, not because I feel like I can't, because like your girl loves wine. I just drank way too much in December, so I'm trying to not in January. But reminding myself like why I don't want to, because I don't feel good when I do, and I don't like the way I feel the next day, and I don't like missing out on workouts. I don't like a headache, like all these things. And when you can recognize that, you can verbally say it out loud, it makes a huge difference. And it's not about guilt. It's not about feeling bad. Again, it's just truly being honest about like, does this match up and align with the person that I want to be? Yes or no? And if no, like, why not? And how do we deal with that? And that can be super, super powerful as you go through that. Okay. All right, so why it all matters, why it's important to actually be able to build those habits into your routine, why it's important to recognize maybe the ones that aren't serving us so much and verbally call that out, and also be able to really enjoy the process and the journey of building all of these new routines into them. It's really just because we're in like a giant feedback loop with ourselves. Like as we go through our life and our day, our habits shape our identity, and our identity really shapes our routines and our habits. they all work together, and it is a giant cycle. So the stories we tell ourselves and who we are and how we show up in the world is shown through our routines, and our routines and the habits and the things that we do every single day start to build and create our identity, and they're one and the same. And it's so important, because if there's stuff that's in your routine that doesn't match the woman that you want to be, then we need to address it and work on actually building those better habits in and removing the stuff that doesn't match. Change is good, you guys. I talk about this all the time. One of the things that infuriates me the most in the past is, as I was growing and evolving and changing, so many people saying it like it was a negative thing. And those aren't your people. Maybe they were your people for like part of your time in your life. And there's people that come in and out of our lives for a reason, but you need to dig in and decide who you want to be and what mark you want to make on this world, how you want your relationships to be, how you want your relationship with yourself to be. Do you want to be constantly struggling and feeling like you have to diet and you have to work out and you have to do all these things? Like, no, like we want it to be just part of who we are. So whether it has to do with fitness and nutrition or it's other parts of your life, the same principles apply. And it's so important to really take the moment and take the time now, especially while we have this challenge happening, while we have such an incredible, I mean, we always have an incredible community, but starting the new year with this incredible community during this challenge, take the time now to dig in and start doing that work so you can have that support and accountability starting now that will carry you through the year. You all can connect and stay connected as we go into the rest of the challenges throughout the year and just our normal workouts in between, but just like having that accountability, but knowing what you want and where you're headed now is gonna be great. Because by the time we get to the end of this year, you're gonna feel so freaking good. And I think the most beautiful thing about life is like, we're constantly learning, we're constantly growing. And like I said, routines don't mean static, stale, stuck. Routines truly can ebb and flow and allow us to grow, and they grow with us, and we can make adjustments. As long as you're in tune and you're paying attention, you really can do anything. And that's such a cool thing to know, that like you do have that power to change. You have the ability to create the life that you want, but it takes that determination, that discipline, and really being aware so that you can take these tools, break it down, and start to build those habits in. All right. So I was going to go into a little bit of like more using your planner, but I want to make sure I can get a couple of questions, and I know we're going like so long. So I'll just quickly say again, make sure you spend some time on those first couple of pages. And then if you haven't seen the video on like 5 tips for using your planner on YouTube, go watch that, because that has a lot of what I wanted to cover anyway. But one of the main things is really like, I really like lately, I've been using the lines on the side when you're in your week for writing down micro goals. So like on this one, so the little lines here, trying to write down those micro goals or new habits that I'm trying to build in. So I have on every single day, stretch 15 minutes before bed. So like before I get in my bed, I will stretch for 15 minutes. I'm saying it to you, I'm saying it out loud, I'm saying it to myself. That is something I get in bed every night. It's gonna happen, it's already there. So I'm adding that and attaching it to that part of my routine. But that's what I've been liking those little lines for. Okay, we're gonna do we'll go 10 minutes of Q&A. I'll try to get to as many of you as I can. So let me go ahead and stop sharing this. And okay. So is it this one that you raise your hand? And yeah, right? Okay. So if you guys have a question about anything we talked about, or just a question in general, there should be a little option for you to raise your hand on your name in the participants. There should be like a drop down. So do that, and I will start trying to call on people when you do. And if for some reason you're not seeing that option, can someone let me know in the chat? I like mostly live in Google, so I feel like whenever I get on Zoom, I'm like, I want. Okay, I see a hand raised. Yes. All right, how do I see? Oh, got it. Okay, great. Yes, Tara, I'm coming for you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Hi, yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, so for my question, I know you're not currently a mother. So for me, I have 3 kids, 9, 4, and 5 months old. And so routine for us can be very challenging. The kids kind of have their own routine. So then me trying to create my own has been challenging for me.
Yeah.
You have, I mean, I don't know, maybe if you have friends with kids or just kind of people maybe you know within your circle that maybe have given you advice on kind of figuring out how to make a better routine when involving a family. Do you have kind of any pointers?
Yeah. So, I mean, first, I would say we have some awesome moms on our HQ team that are both super involved in the community. So, Ellie and Steph, if you have seen them, definitely message them because they probably have much more to share from like firsthand being moms and being able to like work on their routines. But I think one of the biggest things I've heard from both them and just like a lot of moms that I do know and friends of mine is I can only imagine how challenging it is, but trying to, because the kids normally do have such set routines, trying to take the time around those routines to, again, kind of like attach something that you're trying to build into yours. I think being really like diligent with that time that is free, and it can sound daunting again, like if you're like, oh, I'm going to build this routine, it's my only free time, but really adding those things that you enjoy that you know are important for you during that time, I think could be helpful. I hope that helps them, but again, I would definitely talk to them because they can probably give you more like straight up, here's what I do. Oh no, I think you got muted again. Oh, Tara, I'm so sorry. I don't know why it muted again, so I can't hear you. I'm trying to find you.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there you
I'm
are.
sorry.
Hi.
Sorry, I was just saying thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I know it's hard because I don't have kids, but I think if you can try to find, you know, things that you can add in that time, even if it's one thing to start in the time that you know that you have, that could be really helpful.
Okay, and then can I ask just one more question? Sorry,
Yeah.
I just thought of it. So I know you battle with hypothyroidism, and I know that that's something that my doctor has been wanting to get checked out with me. So when you started to kind of adjust your nutrition and stuff for that, was there, and I know you have the 1 meal plan that offers that as well.
Yeah.
Is there any certain like websites or books or anything that were really beneficial for you?
To be honest, no. The one book, but it's like, I just realized my ring light is like right in my eye. Sorry, guys. The one only book that like I found pretty helpful was, oh, now I have to remember the name. Will you DM me? I cannot think of the name off the top of my head. But mostly, honestly, I just went to so many different doctors and then I just started trying everything on myself. Now, obviously, I've talked to like tons of specialists and doctors, but at the time, especially being young, so much younger, and just like even the internet not being as great as it is, I think that like it was a lot more challenging then, but I do have a book, so send me a DM. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. I think Erica Thompson, did it ask?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Go for it.
Okay. I am very computer illiterate. How do you do the roll calls on Instagram?
Oh, okay. Do you see your roll call in the app when you do it?
Yeah, I just am not figuring out how to make sure it gets to the group. I don't know. I'm not.
Oh yeah.
I know how to watch the videos.
Yeah, no. So all you have, like the roll calls are, you know, they vary from day to day, but like today's was like chugging water and tagging 3 girls. I think it was 3 girls. So that you can do like in an Instagram story, you can post a photo doing it, and then just use the hashtag LSF roll call, or LSF 30 or Team LSF.
I don't know how to do that.
Okay, well, we have the motivation book. We'll share more of that too that you got for the challenge, but also you can send us a DM and the girls can help you out.
How do you do that? I know how to watch the videos and scroll through the pictures. That's about all I can do.
Okay, why don't you send us an email just at contact@lovesweatfitness.com.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. All right.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's hard.
It's totally fine. All right, Catherine.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm my camera is a little broken, so I'm coming to you in black and white.
Oh, it's totally fine. Hi.
I recently accepted a new job and I will be traveling a couple days a week soon, and I've never done that before. And I guess I'm concerned with not just keeping a routine, but also eating a healthy diet while I'm like flying all over, and my company like reimburses for meals, but we're not allowed to just go to the grocery store. So I just don't know how to, if you have any like tips or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. So first, congrats on the new job.
Thanks.
That's exciting. I think, you know, the biggest thing, if you have one of the meal plans.
I have a few.
Okay, great. So
So-
like, you know, like the hand on there, and it's actually in the planner too.
Mhm.
Put it in here because I like live by that hand. That, like, I would say is like your best tool, especially just as you're eating out. Obviously, like, do your best to find restaurants that you feel like have some healthier options that are more aligned with like the foods you want to be eating. But I know there are parts of the country and everywhere that just like, there just aren't any options.
I'm in the Midwest, so that's a little tricky.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. So, I mean, I would just say try to stick to as much as you can where it's like, is there a grilled option of something, or can you like, you not have the extra fries, or, you know, really depends on the situation, like how much you have available to you. But I think as far as like, if you can try to like get the veggies in, get the protein, like keep your portions like still like around that hand and think about food in that way as you're like ordering out at places, I think that can be super helpful. And then, yeah, the more you can try to just like find the grilled stuff versus the fried stuff. And even if it's like, you know, you're maybe buying like some greens or that kind of stuff from a store that you might have to pay out of pocket, but to make sure you're getting vegetables more than anything, just to make sure you're getting like some clean, good veggies for your overall health. I think will be really important.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let's do two more. Audrey.
Yay!
Hi.
Hi. Okay, so like a long time ago when I was younger, I was naturally fit and athletic, and I felt like I was always almost apologizing for being naturally fit and like naturally energetic and happy and stuff. And I just got a lot of negative attention for just my appearance, like being just looking nice. And then I feel like that kind of wore me out, and I just sort of gave up on me because I felt like I was trying to maybe just not get that negative attention. And if I was a little chubbier, maybe they would like leave me alone. So how you're so like, fit and gorgeous and all of it. And so how do you manage that mindset of like overcoming the negative attention that comes with it?
Yeah, so I think like that's interesting because I think a lot of people think about the negativity maybe like when you are overweight. Like I always focus so much on that when I was overweight. But it really happens on all sides, no matter what, right? Like it's so sad and it's unfortunate, but it really does. So I think that like really for me, it was just about trying to really be comfortable in myself and realize like there's going to be people that say dumb things, make dumb comments, are rude, maybe inappropriate. Like there can be a whole wide range of things that can make you uncomfortable, no matter where you're at any size. And I think it would truly, for me, was just being like, where do I feel good? Where do I feel my best? Not about like just looking my best, but when do I feel my best? And when can I feel the most confident, and do I feel good about what I'm wearing or not wearing, or how my body looks or whatever. And if I'm good with me, then like I'm good. And I think that sometimes it's hard at first for sure, but like realizing like I'm not going to let someone else's opinions or comments dictate who I am or what I do, because like they don't matter. Like they really don't. And so although it can affect us, it's not that it doesn't affect us, but it shouldn't matter in the scheme of who we are and what we want for our lives. So whatever that looks like for you, I think that like really like digging in and being honest about what you want for you and just trying to tune it out, because it's never better. There's always gonna be a new comment from someone else when you look a different way, you know? So that's kind of where I realized like it sounds horrible to say, like it's kind of like a lose-lose, but I guess it's like a win-win, because it's just, you just have to like feel right with yourself and realize like you're never going to please everyone. There's always going to be negative comments. There's always going to be judgments. Like it's going to happen regardless. So just where you feel your best, stand confident in that. And I think that can really help.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, let's do one more. I think, is it Cheyenne or Shane?
Oh yeah, it's Cheyenne. Hi.
Cheyenne,
Oh my God.
hi.
I'm like obsessed with you, and like I'm so nervous talking to you. I like feel like throwing up. Sorry, TMI. Okay, let me get my head back on straight. Okay, so this question is not so much to do with routines, but more so to do with faith, because I love watching your videos, and so in your videos I see that you do like a devotional, and so I just wanted to know throughout your journey how, like, I know there was probably so much changed, right? So how did you manage to stay close to God and grow your faith? Like that's so important. And I just like, I don't know, I feel like it can just show like you have like God's glory is totally shining upon you, and like you're just like and I'm just like, oh my God, I love you, and you know, you're just perfect, like, you know, and it's, I know that God has blessed you, like you can feel it, right?
So, well, now you're gonna make me cry, but thank you.
Sorry.
Okay. Thank you. That's so sweet. Wow. Whew. Okay. You know, I think for everyone, there's always ebbs and flows and just like anything in your life. I think there's like those ebbs and flows. I think for me personally, like my faith and belief in God has been like such a fundamental part of who I am my whole life. And I think that was something that was really struggling during that time period of my life when I was dealing with a lot of anxiety and depression, and when I was overweight and like all of that stuff was going on. And that was a huge part of my life that was struggling majorly. So I think the shift for me really did happen when I finally because for me and what I believe is that like God designed me perfectly, exactly how I'm supposed to be. And so that's what allowed me to be like, okay, well then I need to just accept my body where I'm at right now, but I need to do a lot of internal work and I need to take better care of my body because I only get one, and like here in this moment. And I think that really like kind of shifted my faith again and allowed me to have so much strength to be able to really start to make those changes. But also with all of that, it kind of does go back to routine, because I felt so disconnected at that point. I had to make it a part of my routine. Like it had to be a part of my routine every day again, in order for me to like stay so close, because I had like not felt so close for a while. So whether that's prayer, devotionals, meditation, whatever like you have in your, like not you personally, but anyone on this call has in your life, that is like what like grounds you and keeps you connected to like who you are at your core. I think that's like the most important thing to build into your routine first and foremost, because if you don't feel solid about like who you are at the core and who you want to be, like we talked about going back to that, like the rest is going to be a little like wishy-washy. You got to like be like, okay, this is the foundation of who I am, whatever that is, and make sure that is a part of your routine every day. And then you want it to be more and more and more, but like you kind of have to make it that habit at first.
Yeah.
Wow. I think I don't know if that answered your question, but
no, I loved it. Thank you so much. Yeah, I come from like my parents, like they practice a different religion. Well, my mom, she practices a different religion. So I'm a new Christian. Like I like, well, Jesus found me or I found Jesus. I don't know, but we're here. And so it's just like, yeah, I love in your videos just the way you present yourself. And I don't know, I've never had like a role model really until I came across your channel. So, you know, it's just so nice to see, to like look up to somebody who also is just so in tune with God. So I just want to say thank you so much. I can't like thank you enough. I don't know.
Well, you're so welcome and thank you. It really means so much to me. I can't, yeah, I'm getting all teary now, but yeah, it really means a lot to me. And I really appreciate you saying that and seeing that in me.
For sure. Thank you.
You're so welcome. All right, you guys, I wish we could stay all night and answer questions and chat. Like, oh, this is my favorite part of everything. Love you guys. So as you know, I've been talking, if you follow on Instagram, I cannot get it to let me answer questions to save my life, but I know they're rolling out a bunch of updates and crazy stuff, which I'll talk about really fast. But as soon as I do, please drop your questions. You can always DM me. I love when you guys ask them in the question box because then I can share as many as possible because a lot of times they're questions other girls have too. So it's really helpful, but you can always send me a DM and I will get back to you super fast or as fast as I can. And then also with Instagram, some of you may have seen this, some of you may not have. I actually don't have this on my Instagram yet, but they're rolling it out. So like it could be tomorrow, it could be in like 2 weeks, I don't know. But they're starting a thing where at the top of your Instagram, I'll show you guys really fast. You know, like, hold on. Okay, so you know, like up here where it says like Instagram when you're on your feed and you start to like scroll. So now you can tap it, or as you scroll, it'll change and say home, and it'll have a drop down. So you can actually now control how you see content and how you like can interact with pages. So like you can actually favorite pages, like you could favorite Lsf Fitness so that when you look at the feed and favorites, you only see pages you favorited. You can tap so you see just pages you follow, because you know how now it shares a bunch of content of like people you don't know. So if you want to make sure you're just seeing people you follow, you have that option. So again, it might not be on your Instagram yet. I don't have it yet, but I have seen it come up on some people's Instagrams and they are going to be rolling it out, which is exciting because instead of just seeing a bunch of random stuff all the time, which I feel like sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen like my best friend's post in 2 months, but she's been posting the whole time. So I'm sure there's tons of people who miss my stuff too. But then you can actually just select what you want to see and then it'll go in chronological order again, like the good old days on Instagram. So I'll let you guys know once it's actually like rolled out to everyone, but just keep an eye out. And when you do, make sure you favorite me so you can come and you always see Lsf Fitness stuff. All right. You guys, this has been recorded. We will try to get the link out to everyone as soon as it all like is cleared up and uploaded and all of that stuff. This has been so much fun. I hope you guys found this super helpful and useful. Take it away, use the skills, go back and watch it again if you need to after we send it out to you guys. But I have loved this. Thank you for giving me your time tonight, for being here. Thank you for being a part of this community, for showing up for each other every day, sweating it out, and for starting your year with me and Team Lsf. Like, that's pretty major. There's a lot of people you can spend your year with, but we're doing it, girls. It's going to be so freaking awesome. It already has been really fun. And I just appreciate you all so much. So have a great rest of your night, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.